So what is sexual harassment? Under Republic Act 7877, work, education, or training-related sexual harassment is committed by an employer, employee, manager, supervisor, agent of the employer, teacher, instructor, professor, coach, trainer, or any person who having authority, influence, or moral ascendancy over another in a work or training or education environment, demands, requests, or otherwise requires any sexual favor from the other, regardless of whether the demand, request, or requirement for submission is accepted or not by the object of said act.
Sexual harassment is an act or a series of acts involving any unwelcome sexual advance, request, or demand for a sexual favor or other verbal or physical behavior of a sexual nature committed by a government employee or official in a work-related, training, or education-related environment. This type of harassment happened in any corner of the world. Anyone could be a victim of sexual harassment regardless of race, color, age, religion, sex, and ancestry. The good news is that there is an act implemented by the government to prevent the occurrence of sexual harassment in our country. The Republic Act 7877 or Anti-Sexual Harassment Act of 1995 is an act declaring sexual harassment unlawful in the employment, education, or training environment and other purposes. This act is very significant to the victims of sexual harassment and also in preventing sexual harassment issues.
The next slide presented the importance of Provisions Republic Act 7877. Let's begin. Are you ready? Republic Act 7877 mandates that the employer or the head of the work-related, educational, or training environment or institution must provide the procedures for its resolution, settlement, or prosecution of acts sexual harassment. The employer must create a competent decorum investigation on cases on sexual harassment. In the case of work-related environment, the committee shall be composed of at least one representative, each from the management, the union, any, the employees from the supervisor rank, and from the rank and the file employees. Educational or training institution. In the case of educational or training institution, the committee shall be composed of at least one representative from the administration, the trainers, instructors, professors or coaches, and students or the trainees as the case may be.
Republic Act 7877 or Anti-Sexual Harassment Act of 1995. The penalties of Section 7. Any person who violates the provision of this act shall, upon conviction, be penalized by imprisonment of not less than 1 month, nor more than 6 months, or a fine of not less than 10,000 pesos, nor more than 20,000 pesos, or both such fine and imprisonment at the discretion of the court. This act is a consideration of House Number 9425 and Senate Bill Number 1632 was finally passed by the House of Representatives and the Senate of February 8, 1995, approved by President of the Senate Edgardo J. Angara, and approved on February 14, 1995 by Fidel V. Ramos, President of the Philippines.
So here is my insights about Republic Act 7877 or Anti-Sexual Act of 1995. A sexual harassment offender hardly gets any penalty anymore. Well, to some, this scenario might just seem like a display of immaturity, maybe even sort of funny. It most certainly is not. The lack of punishment here gives the impression that this sexual harassment is okay. What some might not realize is that the belief that this is okay can lead to much worse things, such as rape. Harassment and rape cannot be taken lightly. They are serious crimes and need to be treated as such, right? So, if you feel that there is someone harassing you, don't panic, stay calm, and report those malicious acts because we are protected by law. Don't be scared, instead, fight for what is right because there is no one who will fight for you, only yourself. And if this case isn't solved, it will happen again and again.
I feel that the victims are granted the right to rise up and fight for their own justice as a result of this anti-sexual harassment law. As a result, whomever violates the law will face punishment. And of course, as a human and a woman, having the opportunity to learn about and investigate this topic makes me feel lucky and blessed. As a result of this, I became aware of and was able to determine what actions I should take if one of my friends, relatives, or even family members, as well as myself, became a victim of sexual harassment. These topics serve as a guide for what we can do, where we can go, and who we can rely on. As a student, a mother, a wife, and a woman, this law states that we must not tolerate various forms of harassment. So now that I'm enlightened, I can state that this topic is really worth to spread, having its single objective of informing and educating. Thank you.
As a woman, I should educate myself, respect one another, and have a healthy relationship with each other in order to prevent the occurrence of sexual harassment in our society.
My insight in Republic Act 7877 or Anti-Sexual Harassment Act of 1995. For me, it has a greatly helped to have the courage to protect the right of every individual in sexual harassment. Sexual harassment is rampant in our society, and it is also a problem that gives fear, and it is indiscriminate age and gender the victims. This problem must be properly addressed by the government. The proper law must be intensified pertaining to sexual harassment and give justice to its victims. I believe that the proper education should be nurtured and intensified among the youth about the prevention of sexual harassment and other social problems. Make the youth aware of its negative effects to each other and how to avoid it. In today's era, adequate education is needed on how to protect ourselves against an abusive society.
My insight for this topic, I know and I believe that sexual harassment, it can happen everywhere, anytime, any place, and any kind of environment. But I know that through the Republic Act 7877, Anti-Sexual Harassment Act, serves as protection and justice for everyone. I know and I believe that we have to be aware of our thoughts, words, and deeds so that we couldn't harm anybody. Respect and love one another is the cure for all humankind.